Welcome, everyone. I'm here in the studio today with Daniel Eisenman. He is the founder of Breaking Normal, which is a book, a podcast, and soon to be an app.
Yep.
Awesome. Also known as the Own Daddy. So, Daniel, I'm really inspired about what you're doing because you're taking people out of the way of normal living and introducing this whole concept of, hey, we don't have to do things the way we've always done them.
Ain't that the truth? I think it's also known as evolution.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so share with us a little bit more about Breaking Normal and how I'm particularly interested in how all of it got started because I don't actually know your story yet.
Cool. Yeah, I realized where it got started, I think, like a few days ago. Like, I thought I knew the roots, but then I found a deeper root.
Oh, cool.
Because when I interviewed Holly, I'm not sure if you know her from my podcast. Anyway, she's like a local massage therapist, pole dancer, and it was an awesome interview. And I remember when we were talking about pole dancing for women's empowerment, I remember that in college, I studied pre-med biology, probably just because that was what people were doing around me. That's like what my roommates were doing. And I didn't know what I was really doing in college, so I figured I would do the most challenging route. And my parents are like a pharmacist and a nurse, so there was probably a little pressure, parental pressure.
There,
I think it was like, since I didn't become a Major League Baseball player, my mom dreamt of me being like a cardiac surgeon. So anyways, that I got through all that, but the class that excited me the most was sociology. It was like one of our electives, Sociology 101.
Okay.
And the big test of that class was to write a 20-page paper on breaking a social norm. And I remember this because the paper I wrote was I went to a strip club and I paid for a lap dance, and instead of asking for a dance, I immediately asked if we could sit down and talk. Like, that's what I was paying for.
I love it. That is too funny.
Yeah, and
that's
I wrote
awesome.
a 20-page paper on that, and it was so fun for me. It was finally, like, something that was very fun. It was, like, so experiential. It just wasn't, like, putting my head in a book or a computer and regurgitating someone else's thoughts. It was, like, actually a field experiment that was, I didn't know what was going to happen. So it's really exciting. We dropped in, had an awesome conversation, very meaningful, very, like, illuminating. Probably helped me understand her world so much better.
Oh, so fascinating.
And my teacher loved it. She kind of like, I could tell usually I didn't really get that great of grades. I was really good at studying like the night before and remembering everything and just spilling it on the test the next day and doing okay.
Yeah.
But that one, I put so much intention in, and my teacher loved it. She affirmed me. And then years later, I think one of my favorite TV shows I ever watched was Breaking Bad.
Okay.
I just thought,
I was wondering if there was any connection.
Yes, I'm thinking this is how it may have happened. And I actually thought that was like, I know I don't like agree with the whole show as like a way to live or anything, but it was probably the most edutaining hours of television I've ever watched. And I think afterwards it was like, why would I break bad when I could break normal? And then something about that clicked, like breaking normal. And that's what I decided to call my book, Breaking Normal. At first I had it called Fun Comfortable, Uncomfortable. It was like F-Uncomfortable. And
this is much better.
You like Breaking Normal better? Yeah. Okay, well, so did the book agent I talked to.
Because I don't know what fun comfortable means, but I get Breaking Normal.
Yeah, and I use fun comfortable throughout the book and kind of add context to that, so it became a buzzword for Breaking Normal.
There you go.
Yeah, I actually went to a book agent who's like, he did Chicken Soup for the Soul. I'm not going to name any names, but he did like some of the most, he's like the biggest book agent in the world, arguably, that's alive, and he just told me Fun and Comfortable sucks. Like, he shit all over the idea. And I was very impressed. I was like, wow, no one ever talks to me like this. I was so inspired that this guy was like shitting all over my idea, and I kind of let that marinate and turn into manure, and I was like, I like Breaking Normal better too.
Oh, I love that. I love that marinate and turn into manure.
Yeah.
I'm a big gardener composter person.
Oh,
so
awesome.
That's a fun analogy for me.
Yeah. Well, I think there's manure, money, and ideas. If they are spread out strategically, I think they're super nurturing to the world. And if they're hoarded, they're poisonous.
Awesome.
That's my idea on ideas and shit.
Love that.
And ideas, manure, and money as well. I think all those deserve to be flow, as well as water. I think when water becomes stagnant or someone tries to store it or manipulate it too much, that's when it becomes an issue.
Yeah. So, along the lines of Breaking Normal, what has been the most, you do a podcast also, so you've interviewed a lot of people about this idea. You've talked to a lot of people about breaking normal. What's the most outrageous breaking normal experience someone's ever shared with you?
Wow. Well, there's so many, but the one that's just coming to mind right now, because it's probably because it's fresh off the interview. It's the most recent one with Seva, who's a local here. I interviewed him 4 years ago because I lived with him. I lived in his house for a few weeks. And I called it the 63-year young Kundalini sex master. And we talked just all about all different types of taboo topics around sex.
Awesome.
But I think why that interview was so radical to me, because he is so seemingly laid back, a bit introverted, and I don't think he's trying to shock. He's not trying to awe and shock people, but the topics were pretty shocking. Because he was talking about his polyamorous relationship, and when he got into the rules, he kind of gave examples of they weren't supposed to share fluids, but he ended up with a squirter. And he ended up with fluid all over me, all over him. And he was like, so how do I explain that? So
was that a Freudian slip?
Good question. But it was, I think, just the nonchalantness of him talking about that topic of him navigating the gray zones of his polyamorous relationship in such a laid back way was pretty shocking. Especially because I come from a Christian family in Georgia, where it's very conservative, and they've been together since I've been a kid, since I was born. It's same relationship. So to hear this guy that's so seemingly youthful, but still has quite a bit of years, 66 years, and he's out mountain biking, frisbeeing, and fornicating and
just talking openly about
and not making it a big deal. It just seems like his lifestyle, and he thinks it's a great idea for a lot of people. And so that was just whoa. I just couldn't believe how easy he was talking about such topics that might make other people squirm or squirt.
I love the level of integration, though, that people can reach with their alternative lifestyles when it's true to who they are and it's their integrity.
Yeah.
And, this whole idea of breaking normal and getting out of the norm, it is important that we can talk about it without squirming, because this is the new paradigm.
Or the old one, just making a loop back.
Making a comeback.
Comeback.
But it is important to be able to speak about it in a way that is integrated, because there are people that have this as part of them and have not yet shown it to the world or have shame around it. And when we can bring it out and say, this is who I am, this is how we do it.
Or an abrasive amount of ego or pride. I think some people, especially when I was in Austin, Texas, there's a bit, and Encinitas, California, there's a pretty big polyamory movement there. But it's much with much younger people. And sometimes I get the idea that young men want to promote the polyamorous lifestyle to brag about what they're doing.
How many women whatever.
So it was different with Seva. Seva was just this grounded elder that was just sharing his experiences accurately. And it seemed not about trying to prove much, but more just to explore out loud.
Has there been anything super weird that people have brought forth with their breaking normal experience?
Well, I once got sponsored by a company called Gainswave, and this is an alternative Viagra treatment.
So they never heard of this.
Yeah, they have a magic wand of sorts that blast sound waves on a man's genital area, and it's apparently supposed to bring a lot of blood flow, much more natural than a pill.
Interesting.
And then I was just asking him about other treatments other than Gainswave, and he was telling me about a penis pump. And this was pretty shocking. I didn't know this existed. So I guess one of the treatments he does, especially for older gentlemen that just want to have a hard-on whenever, without any sort of treatment, long, over and over again. Certain men have a pump, they push a button in their balls, and their penis just stays hard.
Yeah,
that was what?
I come from an occupational therapy background.
Okay.
That's actually something that we probably talked about in school.
Okay, I didn't know that even existed. So
totally.
That was that was quite weird to me. And especially to have a doctor promoting it as a great idea. I was whoa.
Well, why not instead of medication, right?
I guess just something that seems cyborg, kind of robotic. You push a button in your balls and you have a hard-on for however long you want. I'm whoa. okay, it's good to know how it exists.
So you guys had no idea the conversation was going to go in this direction,
Yeah,
so you know?
necessarily. This is something, expecting to be experience everything.
I'm asking the questions, though. I'm asking the questions here. What about, like, has there anything that stuck with you that's like, wow, that's really profound, and I'm going to leave with that, and I'm going to take that into my life because this is really profound and something special.
Yeah, I might be biased because I saw the podcast page on your computer right before this, so I saw some of the people I interviewed. It was fun to just like preview through the 50 people or so.
Sure.
And one that stuck out in my mind was Greg Cook, who's the founder of Stone Brewing. I'm imagining that company has made probably over $100 million at this point. It's one of the largest.
I've never heard of that either.
You've never heard of Stone Brewing or Stone Beer? You might not drink
I'm
much
not an
microcraft
alcohol
beer.
person, so I don't know about these things at all.
Well, I've drank a lot of beer in San Diego, for instance. Like, I believe sometimes that the medicine's in the poison and the poison's in the dose. And I sometimes feel I haven't drank beer in a while, but I feel really good on craft beer, a certain amount. So I've explored around, and Stone craft beer is one of the most popular. It's almost like becoming a mainstream. It is a mainstream brand at this point, but they were like one of the trailblazers of the craft beer movement. And someone in San Diego now could probably drink a different beer every day of the year because Stone kind of blazed the trail for like not everyone wants Budweiser. It's like some people want something more local and intentional. And not with high fructose corn syrup. I don't know if Budweiser puts that in there now, but some of those companies do. I know, it's kind of crazy what's in beer, some beers. So he was just really driving the point home to ignore everyone. He just kept like driving that point home to me. Don't listen to anyone except you.
Interesting.
And he thinks that's like where he was able to do what he's doing. And now he's like partnered with Metallica and touring the world and just like this iconic businessman.
Like a few little shivers and chills up and down my spine when you say that.
The God bumps.
Yeah. Say it again.
I'm having it now on my head.
Ignore everyone.
He even told me about. I haven't read it, but I think he really drove a point. This book he read called "Ignore Everybody" or "Ignore Everyone." And I can empathize.
And his point
with that.
was listen to your own guidance. Listen to your own.
Yeah, like you got to drown out the exterior noise so you can turn up the inner volume.
Yeah, totally.
And he didn't do his beer to make $100 million or whatever he's done. I don't know if that's true, but he did it because he felt a calling to do it.
Yeah. And
he was just sharing the other day on Instagram how when he had a Japanese couple tap the beer in the Solana Beach Brewery the first time, and he was like his first beer he's watching, and he was just, his heart was thumping out of his chest, and he didn't know if he's going to like it, and he asked him, like, what do you think? And they're like, oh, that's good. I like the name. And here we are, like 10 or 12 years later, being one of the most popular beer brands in the world.
I like the name. But what about the beer? What about the flavor?
I think it was good. And I think he asked, like, why'd you get it? He's like, the name's cool. It was like a Japanese couple, and that was like so touching to me. And he's a genius. He's a genius, and he listens to people, but he doesn't just accept projections. Yeah, he is very strong in his own energy, which I think you are too.
Well, thank you for that compliment. That's very beautiful and touching. I really genuinely appreciate that. Considering everything that's been happening lately, that's a really deep compliment. I received that. Thank you so much.
I was thinking of like another book title maybe in the future, or some concept like your projection is not my placebo. Your projection is not my placebo. Your projection is not my placebo. And I want to make sure, and sometimes an affirmation can be dangerous. If I was to affirm you in something, like, you're so good at the dig, I just can't, I please play the dig forever. Like, that's where you got to go all in on, where it might just feel like a hobby to you. If you're addicted to approval, you might make the dig your main thing instead of a side hobby, and that's not you got to ignore that sometimes.
So I'm just going to ignore what you just said.
I think that was a solid affirmation. I think that'll help you ignore others as well and turn up that inner volume. That you have a strong energy field, and it doesn't seem like you're going to be so distracted by people's projections.
We're working on that, honestly. Yeah, still working on it.
Cool. Well, that sounds like someone that's good at it. That's what they would say. That seems like a forever process.
It is. It is. It definitely. This is in the breaking normal theme to not listen to everyone else and to listen to your own. Because we're constantly told what to do. We're constantly told, listen to this person, read this book, do this thing, go to this school, study this. But,
And there's really someone today, like my daughter, could probably read books for 100 years and still just barely scratch the surface. Yeah. So arguably, culture is like drowning in knowledge and starving for wisdom. Just like culture is probably drowning in food and starving for nutrients.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I think that wisdom is an inside-out job.
How do you access your inner wisdom, and how do you navigate life ignoring the external voices?
Yeah, I think it's I think I do have a gift, like a natural ability. It seems to come. So I want to confess that. I think I've always been naturally a little, like even my best friend in college. Like I'm super social, and one of my best friends in college, who's like the LADA now, he's a genius as well. He would tell people, like, people were like, what is Daniel doing? How can he do that? He went to pre-med and now he's just like traveling the world. Like, how does he do that? And they would talk to him instead of me about it. Yeah. And you're like, you gotta understand, Daniel is like a lone wolf. He seems like he's friendly with everyone, but his true nature may be a lone wolf. Interesting. And I don't know if that's my archetype or what that even means, but it resonates. Mm-hmm. And maybe
like you have your own way of doing things.
Yeah, like I don't need to. I think I would almost flip the script. Like usually I look at what most people are doing and I do the opposite. And that seems to be a shortcut for success for me. And that's a lot. And I learned that. I've learned that by chasing water. You asked if I chase waterfalls.
Yeah.
I've learned that by going around the world looking for the best water sources in the world, like the source of waters. And I remember one time in particular, I was at Emerald Cove in Lake Tahoe. And there's an epic hike. It's like one of the most famous hikes in Lake Tahoe and arguably the world. You go 2 miles down through all these amazing trees, all these waterfalls. And then there's a stream that goes into the lake. And the stream is pretty easy to go over. But like, I think I may have been the only one. Maybe me and like 2 other people went across the stream, and then there was a whole like national park to ourselves because no one else wanted to get cold.
Oh, right, like, right. I can feel it.
And that struck me. I'm like, whoa. Like, I gotta look at what the majority of people are doing, and do something a little different to experience.
You're willing to go places other people aren't.
Yeah, and that sometimes makes the whole difference. I almost wonder, and this kind of is shown in the financial setup of the world. This a very small percentage of the people have the vast majority of the resources, financial resources,
right?
And I don't know how natural that is. There's a great book from Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil.
Yeah.
And he claims he has a conversation with the devil, and the devil makes a strong point that he controls 98% of the population through hypnotic trance and drifting and cultural memes. And a lot through preachers, teachers, drugs, and entertainment, news, politics.
Yep.
So I think if someone is listening to everyone, it could be very easy just to drift through life and just go with the flow. And I don't know where that flow is going, but it doesn't seem to be as clean as some of the off the beaten paths.
It sounds to me like you have an innate trust in yourself.
Yeah.
And in life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do this because this is what I want to do, and I trust that it's going to take me to a good place.
I think that's fairly accurate.
Do you think you were born with that?
Yeah. I think everyone is.
That's amazing.
I think everyone is, and I think a lot of people get cultured out of that, to forget that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think most children are, like most infants, and then most people closest to the source, so when they're first born or they're transitioning out of their human bodies, or whatever that means, death, they seem to not really care what other people think, and they seem to be kind of weird in their own wonderful way.
Yeah. Like, why can't we reach that sooner?
I think we can.
But, you have.
I think we are, and I think you are as well. That's why I had you on the podcast. I think I have a tendency, because I'm like, I believe a lot of times I see what I'm looking for. So since I'm looking for breaking normal people or places or things,
they're just going to show up
like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're embodying that vibration and that frequency. You're embodying that signal so clearly that you can't help but have those people show up in your world.
Mm-hmm. And it can be pretty abrasive for people that are like attached to being normal or like addicted to approval.
What would you say to someone who is attached to being normal? Is there like some advice or some suggestions you could give us?
Yeah, so many. Well, first of all, that's what the Breaking Normal book is. I have that on Audible, and I read it out loud if someone. And I would actually suggest going on an amazing hike and listening to that book at faster speed than usual. There's something I think for me, and I think a lot of others, when we're moving rather than just sitting.
Yes. Yeah.
When we're in movement,
Yeah.
and maybe not even like trying to remember everything, that sometimes a frequency or a message can get downloaded beyond the mental understanding.
Yes.
So I do suggest the Audible of Breaking Normal, and the podcasts are awesome as well. And I have like these top 10 hacks for breaking normal, and I think you might be familiar with some of them, but one of them is like drinking clean water.
Yes.
Like drinking water from the source, like spring water if you can, or well water, unmanipulated water without fluoride or chemicals, or that's been stored for a long time. Ideally, like if you can just find a spring and put your face in it, like actually drinking. Yeah. I think our next event might be in Mount Shasta, and the headwaters of the Sacramento River are there.
Yeah.
And people can literally drink some of the cleanest water from their mouth into the stream. Yeah. I think a vast majority of people have never drank water without a cup or without it being stored.
Right.
So that right there, that's a game changer. I think beyond my even verbal my understanding to be able to verbalize it.
Yeah.
And then getting in that water is also quite amazing because first of all, it's really fresh and it's full of minerals and it's extremely cold. It might be in the 40s. And that's it. I think that I make it a daily practice to get in cold water if it's somewhat available or somewhat accessible where I'm at.
Yeah.
And just like if you look at the way most people's homes are set up, first of all, there's usually fluoridated or chlorinated water coming out, and they have all these creature comforts to make everything just so they can stay in the spectrum of being comfortable, rather than testing the extremes of being fun comfortable. I think it's good to test the extremes in a healthy, safe way.
Yeah, like test your limits. Where's your edge?
Yep, and I think that might be even like something about Buddha, like test the edges and find the balance.
Yeah.
And I think some people are just so obsessed with finding the comfortable zone that they might not even know what they really are until they find those edges. Getting naked, I think is a big one. Being naked.
Like out in nature.
Yeah, out in nature or in front of other people. And it doesn't have to be sexual. I'm not saying in a sexual way. Like, I think so many people are ashamed of their bodies. Like they're hiding under their clothes.
Right.
They're hiding from the sun. They're hiding from the cold. They're hiding from the heat.
I don't know if this is a thing for men, but I know for a lot of women, this is a massive thing. Like a little belly wrinkle and they're, freaking out.
Which is so nuts. Like, it's so crazy to think, because I think every human body is the arguably the biggest miraculous technology that's ever been created.
Yeah.
And so for someone to be ashamed of that technology, or like or hiding it from the sun because people might see it, or hiding their belly, or whatever it is. Yeah. Like that's a great way. For instance, it's a great way to get athlete's foot is to never have your feet in the air. It's a great way to get jockish to never have your crotch in the air. Like if you're always in a wet, closed, damp environment, that's not good for much life. Maybe like critters you don't want.
I think of the skin too, like the breathing that happens through the skin, the breath, the exchange of the water in the skin, the exchange of the skin and the air. Like it's nourishing to have exposed skin, and that is like such a wild concept to some people.
Yeah, it is.
Been clothed all their life.
So maybe get your clothes off, get in some cold water. Maybe feature your flaws, like whatever someone thinks their flaws are, to feature them, because they might find out their flaws are their features.
Wait, I really love this.
Yeah.
Wait, this is getting me really juiced up. Okay, say more about this.
So, like, whatever someone...
How do we feature a flaw?
So, like, all right, let's see. What I've been insecure of, like, maybe my feet. Like, I used to hide my feet.
Okay.
Because I thought they were, like, flat. And it seemed like...
Oh, my gosh, the whole yoga community might judge you for having flat feet.
Well, whoever it is, it's like... And then I realized, like, my feet are awesome. They're like, first of all, I think I'm a superior swimmer, partly because of my feet. They're like flippers. And I think, like, by exposing them to nature and not hiding them in shoes, or like, this is just a small detail. they've become more versatile, maybe less flat,
Absolutely.
maybe less of a flaw and actually more of a feature. And I've like found out, oh, I can paddle on a surfboard really fast. I can probably outswim most people. I can use my feet in unique ways. I can actually, it might be good for walking barefoot in nature, a lot like better than people that have huge arches. So these are all just like minor examples.
Can I bring one to the table?
Oh yes, please.
All right, this is one of mine. I still really care about what people think of me. I do. I'm sensitive, and I can feel people's energy that they project on me, and so I care what they think of me. How do I turn that around into something that's my, that I'm championing?
Oh, cool. That's a great question. Yeah. And I think I have a formula. I think this is a pretty solid formula.
Cool.
It seems to work for me and many
because I know
people.
I'm not the only one that's like this, so I want to bring this to the light.
It'll be bulletproofed by 4 A's. So first of all, you already have the first 2 A's so well. Awareness. So you're aware, you're aware that for some reason that you are letting this is another thing. Put it in the past. First of all, that's in the past. That doesn't have to be true anymore unless you want it to be. So that you're telling me about a past experience. Okay. Like, are you really caring what I'm thinking about you right now? Or are you letting that distract you?
No.
Okay, cool. So this is a past experience you're telling me about.
Okay.
It's good to be aware of that too. And you don't have to repeat the past unless you want to.
Right.
So you're aware that you used to, and I think that the word becomes flesh in many ways. So maybe you want to say it. I used to really care about what people thought of me.
Okay.
You want to say that?
Yeah, I used to really care what people thought of me.
And what about now? How are you feeling right now?
Just saying that out loud, there's a freedom that comes
awesome
with placing it in the past.
And I think that's a more accurate way to put it too. All right, so you got the awareness.
Yeah, I like that.
And then the acceptance, so you accept that in the past, you don't have to be in denial of it. Like you may have manipulated your behavior to fit into what you thought other people wanted you to be. And by the way, I think that's blasphemous because I think you're idolizing other people's imaginations and you don't even actually know what they're thinking. I don't even know if they actually know what they're thinking. So what a weird way to live.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yes. Yeah.
So you accepted that you used to do that. If it ever happens again, what I would highly recommend you doing is to amplify the sensations in your body. Like if you catch yourself and you're outside later today at the grocery store and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling like that person. I'm feeling like I need to change my behavior because this way this person's looking at me. Instead of just going to that default program, what are you feeling in your body? Where's those sensations? Right. Where do you think those sensations may have been in your body the most when that happened? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, solar plexus.
Okay, so instead of calling it a feeling, which I think there's infinite feelings, but some people are so attached, like depression, sadness, happiness, joy. Like there's infinite shades.
It's a sensation. It's an energy.
So that energy, amplify it. If it's heat, make it hotter.
Yeah.
If it's spinning, make it spin faster.
Okay.
If it's like bubbling, make it bubble harder.
Okay.
And then take a new action. Like use that because that's going to unlock a bunch of energy.
That's your fuel.
Yeah, that's the fuel for the fire of a new maneuver. Like if this is your vehicle that you're driving in, you have new fuel. Like you just put your boosters on to go in a new direction.
Yeah.
And what's the action you want to take? Maybe it would be to face that dragon head on. And if it's someone that's let's say judging you for being naked, or if it's someone judging me for being naked. And like if I was going to face a dragon head on, I'd be like, man, I think I'm projecting this, but are you judging me for the way my body looks? Like that would be quite the conversation.
Ask the confronting question.
And then those feelings will probably get amplified and amplified. And I actually think a lot of times that's where people's health issues go away. Because a stored traumatic emotion might all of a sudden leave.
Absolutely.
And they might feel very energized. And then they might all of a sudden feel so energized they might have like a new freedom of thought to be like, wait a minute, actually I don't know if that's even true anymore. Like I want this person to judge my body. Actually everyone is judging me. I'm judging everyone. I mean, if judging is to form an opinion, then we have to form opinions to survive. So what's wrong with that? And I think it's pretty healthy to care what people think and to also not care what people think. Like if you can find that balance of both.
That is, when I looked at this before, that is one of the things that I came to was like, you know what? I want to care because that's going to keep me in integrity.
Yep.
That is one of the things that's going to keep me in alignment. I actually want to care to some degree. But then there is that unhealthy caring that
when you start, I think when you start molding your behavior into
Right,
think,
then that
like you can
doesn't
just be with the sensations. Like that's actually pretty fun. Like this is why I think so many stand-up comedians and actors and people that put themselves, musicians and put themselves on stage are so praised.
Yeah.
Because they've learned to feel. They learn to judge. They're judging other people's judgments probably, but they're not letting that like dilute their behavior. They're letting it amplify their behavior.
Yes.
It's like Lil Wayne's on stage acting like a maniac, and yeah, sure, people are like, this guy's the devil, or this guy's this guy's that, and he's probably like, yeah, bring it on. Like this is the fuel that so I can be more of who I am, regardless of what others think. And then it's funny how those people are usually the ones that are praised, and it's funny how judges are like the highest authoritative position in our society in a way, and that people are like, I don't judge. Like, yes, you do. If you owned it, maybe you would
maybe
transcend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I judge people. Okay.
Yeah, I like a chapter in the Breaking Normal book is to judge your judgments. So you can so it doesn't become condemning. I think there is a difference between judging and condemning. Like I'm judging you right now probably in so many ways, but I'm not condemning your behavior. I'm more just like curious and forming opinions, and I'm not trying to change you. I'm more like, oh, wow. I've
always talked about it in terms of discernment versus judgment.
Yeah,
like the judgment is the condemning part, and the discernment is just the knowing, oh, this is this, that's that. This is for me, that's not for me. There's no emotional attachment with the discernment.
Yeah, I think whether it's discernment or judging or condemning, I think it's good to unravel these symbols and not be so controlled by them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because these are the menu. Like people's words are the menu. The meal is like them. It's like their essence.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are, once again, starving for nutrients metaphorically because they're trying to eat the menu rather than the meal.
Yeah.
If that makes enough sense. And it doesn't have to. I think most truths come in paradoxes, like the yin yang.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah. That is true. So when people read the book Breaking Normal, what are they going to walk away with?
I think... all right, I just mentioned my friend Josh Trent, who we did a traded podcast for his Wellness Force one, and I loved I've heard so many different descriptions, but he's like, I figured out what you're doing. He's like, you're giving people a giant permission slip to not give a fuck.
Yes.
To be themselves and not care what other people think. Like, I feel like I have a permission slip in your presence and that's a kind of a cool permission slip. I'm like thinking, when he told me that, I was like thinking to myself in elementary school, if my teacher gave me a permission slip, like do whatever you want, Daniel.
Be yourself.
As long as it's as long as it's healthy and supportive,
somebody.
like if you're supporting yourself and others and it's healthy, do whatever you want. If you need to go up and pee, go pee. If you want to come up and scream, go do that. If you need to cry, do that.
Yeah.
Not just like sit in your chair, shut up, and remember what I told you, and remember other people's ideas so you can regurgitate them tomorrow.
Right.
School's a little bit of a prison, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not all schools. We're getting better.
Yeah, I love that. Getting a permission slip to be who we authentically are, to be who we truly are. So if that's something you need, go check out his book, Breaking Normal, and a podcast at breakingnormal.com. And if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
That's a good way. My email, daniel@breakingnormal.com, or I'm pretty active on Instagram. If anyone ever wants to send me a message on Instagram, I typically respond with a video real quickly.
At Daniel Eisenman.
Daniel Eisenman, yep, my full name. Yep.
All right, I'll put
and
that
that's on also Facebook. If anyone wants to check out the Om Daddy video, I think the Om Daddy video is pinned on the top of my Facebook, Daniel Eisenman, the Freedom Catalyst page.
Cool.
That's something I've hashtagged, the Freedom Catalyst. So I think that book will catalyze freedom.
Okay.
New levels of freedom.
Perfect. Daniel, thank you so much for joining me in the studio today. I love this conversation.
Me too,
I love talking outside of the box and introducing new ideas. So thank you for bringing your presence and your permission slip to be who you are.
Yeah, and thanks for reminding me that I have one too.
Absolutely.
I think the more Breaking Normal people I meet, the easier it is for me to keep doing it. And culture, it goes right along with the money, water, manure idea.
Yeah. Like
culture deserves to be in movement.
Yes.
Otherwise, there's dangers in that, just like the rest of those.
Yeah, community.
Keep evolving it. Keep evolving it. That's why. That's why people keep getting born. It's like it's only getting better. So yeah,
bringing in the new light. Awesome, just
Thank
like
you,
your
Susie.
beautiful daughter. Davina.
Oh yeah. And that's a good person. I was thinking about you were saying like It also depends on who's judging you,
Mm-hmm.
like how you might want to react. But how Davina judges me is pretty. I feel like she has pure judgments.
Yeah.
So she's a good mirror for me.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So that's one person I sort of live up to her expectations, I think.
That's so beautiful.
To my little toddler Davina, that own baby.
Yeah, she's so precious. I've had the privilege of meeting her, and she is just pure light. She's just joy and light and beauty and
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I've got that.
my heart every time.
Got that affirmation from countless people, so it's pretty easy to believe for me too.
Yeah.
I knew it before anyone said anything, but it's cool how other people recognize it.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. I can't not.
Yep.
All right. Thank you again, Daniel.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Susie.
it.
Thank y'all.